A German general stands in a Maryland field. His iron cross catches the spring sunlight. American soldiers watch something impossible. It is May 1945. Fort Meade, Maryland. And for the first time in his life, Major General Friedrich Kessler does not understand the world in front of him. The surrender, May 8, 1945. Bavaria. The war ends not with a roar, but with dust. Tank engines idle, exhaust hangs in the air, boots crunch over gravel. A Panzer division, once the pride of the Wehrmacht, stands frozen, weapons silent, flags lowered. Major General Friedrich Kessler stands beside his staff car. He does not salute. He unbuckles his sidearm. The leather holster falls empty against his uniform, and with it ends 23 years of service to Germany. This moment was never supposed to happen. The Führer's final orders were absolute. No surrender. Fight to the last bullet. Death before dishonor. Kessler ignores them. 2,000 men stand behind him, exhausted, starving, terrified. He chooses their lives over ideology. An American infantry captain approaches, young, maybe 25. Clean uniform, calm eyes, no hatred, no shouting, just efficiency. "General," the captain says evenly, "you're our prisoner now." Kessler nods once. Inside, he waits for the inevitable. Interrogation, humiliation, execution. That is what defeat looks like in his world. Across the Atlantic, it does not come. Instead, Kessler is transported west, far west, across ruined Germany, onto a ship, across an ocean he once believed America too weak to cross in force. Weeks later, he steps onto American soil. Maryland, green fields, clean roads, no bomb craters, no ruins, no smoke. This alone unsettles him. Germany lies in ashes. Yet here, normal life continues. He is taken to Fort Meade, barbed wire, guard towers, order. But something is wrong. The guards do not scream. They do not beat him. They do not insult him. They call him general. They follow rules. They treat him like a human being. This is not how victors behave. The first crack Kessler expects propaganda lectures. Instead, he receives books. American officers hand him newspapers, uncensored. He is allowed to read foreign press, British, French, even German exile papers. They do not hide the truth. The camps, the mass graves, the photographs. At first, he refuses to believe it. This is enemy fabrication, he insists. No one argues. They simply leave the material on his desk. Days pass, then weeks. The evidence grows impossible to dismiss. For the first time, Friedrich Kessler confronts a thought more terrifying than defeat. What if everything he served was a lie? The barbed wire years begin. Kessler expects months in captivity. They tell him it will be years. Not punishment, not revenge, reconstruction. He is transferred to a long-term POW program, one designed not to break men, but to change them. Classes begin. Political science, economics, history, uncensored history. He listens at first with contempt. American officers speak of constitutions, of civilian control of the military, of law above power. Kessler scoffs. Germany was strong, he argues. Germany had order. An American colonel listens patiently, then asks one question. "If your system was strong, General, why is it gone?" The room falls silent. That question follows Kessler back to his barracks. The unthinkable experiment. Months later, something extraordinary happens. The Americans organize mock elections inside the POW camp. Ballots, debates, opposition parties. German prisoners laugh at first. Then they argue. Then they campaign. Kessler watches from a distance. Voting was a joke in the Reich, a ritual without meaning. But here, men disagree openly. They criticize leadership. They lose elections and walk away alive. No arrests, no secret police. The result unsettles him more than any guard ever could. This system survives dissent. The collapse of the old General won. Winter night, Kessler cannot sleep. He writes in a notebook he never expected to keep. He writes about loyalty, about obedience, about how easily discipline became blindness. He remembers his first oath, to Germany, not a man. He remembers when that changed, and he writes a sentence that would once have been treason. We were trained to obey orders. We were not trained to question evil. That sentence ends the old general. In 1947, something unexpected happens. The Americans begin releasing prisoners, not randomly but selectively. They interview Kessler repeatedly. They ask about logistics, command structure, civil-military relations. Then they explain why. Germany will need an army again, not to conquer, but to defend. And this time, it must be different. They ask him a question that stuns him. Would you help build it? Returned to a ruined homeland, Kessler returns to Germany in 1948. Cities lie in rubble. Families are shattered. The old certainties are gone. But something else exists now. Debate, newspapers, political parties. The Americans do not rule by fear. They rule by structure. Kessler is brought into planning sessions, not as a war hero, not as a conqueror, but as a man who understands what must never happen again. He argues fiercely. No political indoctrination, no personal loyalty oaths, no blind obedience. The army must serve the Constitution or it will destroy it. Many resist him. He does not back down. The Bundeswehr is born. By the mid-1950s, West Germany has a new army, the Bundeswehr. Its doctrine is revolutionary, innere Führung, the soldier as a citizen in uniform. Officers are taught ethics, soldiers are taught law. Disobedience is mandatory when orders violate human dignity. This idea would have been unthinkable in 1939. It becomes reality because men like Friedrich Kessler changed. Not through humiliation, but through exposure to a system stronger than fear. The final reflection years later, Kessler visits Fort Meade again, this time as a guest. The field looks the same, green, quiet. He watches American soldiers train. They argue with instructors. They ask questions. They think. And still, they obey, but differently. He realizes something then. Democracy did not defeat Germany with bombs alone. It defeated it by proving that power without conscience collapses, and discipline without freedom becomes a weapon against itself. When the general faced himself, what finally broke Friedrich Kessler was not defeat. It was freedom. Inside the camp, American officers did something no enemy had ever done before. They disagreed with him and allowed him to disagree back. No punishment, no consequences, no fear. For a man raised in a system where disagreement meant suspicion, and suspicion meant death, this was unbearable. Kessler had been trained to believe order came from silence. That unity came from obedience. That strength came from fear. Yet here he stood, surrounded by men who argued openly, criticized authority, and still functioned as a disciplined force. The contradiction gnawed at him. One afternoon during a seminar, Kessler finally snapped. "You confuse chaos with freedom," he said sharply. "A state cannot survive this." The American instructor did not raise his voice. Instead, he replied quietly, "And yet, we did." That answer followed Kessler for weeks. The most dangerous question. The Americans never asked Kessler why Germany lost. They asked something worse, why Germany obeyed, why millions followed orders they knew were wrong, why educated officers never refused, why loyalty became more sacred than conscience. Kessler tried to answer with discipline, with tradition, with duty. None of it satisfied him anymore. Late at night, he replayed moments from the war. Orders signed without reading, reports ignored because they were inconvenient, rumors dismissed because they threatened morale. He remembered junior officers who hesitated and were crushed by the system he helped enforce. And slowly, painfully, he understood. The system did not fail by accident. It failed by design. Years passed. Kessler aged visibly in captivity, not from hunger or abuse, but from internal collapse. He learned English fluently. He studied American constitutional law. He debated with former enemies until sunrise. The camp became something unthinkable, a university. Not one that praised America blindly, but one that dissected power mercilessly. They studied Rome. They studied Prussia. They studied revolutions that devoured their own children. Again and again, the pattern repeated. When the military serves ideology, the state dies. When the military serves law, the state survives.